I'm going to be as objective as possible in this video because, as you know, I glaze the living hell out of Z Broly. It's my profile picture. I've said on multiple occasions he's my GOAT, and if he's involved, bro, like come on, man. I've never been more excited for a character release in Dokkan history. So of course I'm very excited. And when I saw this, I didn't even process it yet. But the entire worldwide celebration is going to be Broly themed. And this is the controversy, and this is the problem that people have with this worldwide celebration. And I'm just going to give my 2 cents. I don't think it's as bad as people are really saying. However, I think there are some fair criticisms to talk about when it comes to this theme. I will mention this. If you are excited as I am for Broly, consider subscribing. I will be going live, doing my summons, a lot of content I will be dropping around Broly. Why say Broly like that? I'm just excited, man. I'm go on, Ron. Look, it's the go. Anyways, yeah, feel free to subscribe. New profile picture coming in. I can't wait. Anyways. Let's talk about this, right? I think, first of all, the entire worldwide being centered around Broly is an amazing thing for me, right? But it's, personally speaking, right, an amazing thing for me, but also a bad thing for me. And the reason why I say that is because Broly is a character who, of course, is very polarizing, but he doesn't differ in the same way that someone like Cooler does, right? So last worldwide, it wasn't last worldwide, but the worldwide in which we got the Dokkan Festival STR Cooler here, right? So, you know, of course, back in 2022. And then for part 2, we got LR Metal Cooler. Broly doesn't differ in the same way Cooler does. So this made a lot of sense for a part 1, Revenge of Cooler. And then part 2, the, you know, whatever the film of Metal Cooler, I forgot the name of the film, but you get the point, right? So this makes sense as a part 1 and a part 2. But for Broly, I don't see it that same way. It's like you have Z Broly in part 1 and then Z Broly in part 2. And to be fair, I don't even like thinking about it. Unless they really do Bio Broly, which I really don't see Bio Broly getting a Dokkan Fest or a carnival in part 2. I think at most what part 2 will end up being is an actual proper movie heroes, you know, Goku's family Kamehameha, because of course, like this this unit exists, but this isn't like a family Kamehameha character. This is literally Gohan and Goten from that same moment, but we need the Goku, Gohan, and Goten from that moment, right? I think that's a realistic expectation for part 2. And then the other character could easily end up being an LR, Goten, Trunks, and maybe 18. The issue with this card is I don't know what they would drop that differs from this already existing character here, because this character literally exists, right? We have Goten, Trunks, and Krillin is in the card art too, but it's not really in the name. And I'm not gonna lie, this isn't hype as a release for me. Family Kamehameha definitely is, but like for part 2, I'm just questioning like what are they going to do, right? Because I would rather have Bio Broly in the game than this, but Bio Broly is such a meme character that I don't know, right? It's hard to say. And another thing to mention is that Broly is the carnival character, which means with whatever extreme class character comes in part 2, if we do get an extreme character, they're going to be the Dokkan Fest. So you're telling me that Bio Broly is going to be the Dokkan? Like, something about that is weird, man. And again, I am a Bio Broly glazer. I am a Broly glazer at heart. So any form, no matter if he's covered in goo or not, I'm there to support him. So I would personally be hyped for it. But it's like, I don't think it's going to be a hype celebration. I think something like Bojack and Gohan would have been more exciting. And another reason why I say that is because if we both look at movie heroes, and I say both because you and I, right? If we look at, movie bosses would have benefited a whole lot more if it was something like Bojack and Gohan, right? The reason why I say that is because if it was Bojack, AGL Bojack here would have finally received his EZA after being in the game for what, 7 years? That's insane. Also, we would have the EZA, very likely EZA of STR Bojack here. Now, this guy did release in 2021 for global. Let me pull up LR Bojack here. Yeah, this guy, I don't think he'd get a super EZA, to be honest, but when it comes to STR Bojack getting an EZA is very exciting. And then the movie hero side of things, you have Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, which is a character a lot of people really want to see not only get a character, right, like a transforming Gohan, Super Saiyan Gohan into Super Saiyan 2, whatever the case is, but this character getting an EZA is, of course, extremely cool. And then on top of that, at least for the free-to-play folks out there, there is this Super Saiyan 2 free-to-play Gohan who needs an awakening. Where's my Gohan right here? Look at this guy. This is a character you can actually grind up from the Bojack Dragon Ball story event, and he needs some love and representation as well. So it's like there would have been a lot that they could do for Bojack, at least compared to Bio, because Bio Broly, we really only have tech free-to-play Bio Broly that can get it like an EZA. For the extreme class side of things, because who else? Like there is no other, unless I'm mistaken, there's no other Bio Broly character in the game on the extreme class side of things besides Bio Broly himself. And then on the super class side of things, I mean, at least to me, it's realistic that Goten and Trunks can get their EZA. But they did drop a, yeah, this makes sense to me personally. And then the other unit EZA could easily be this AGL Krillin. And since he is a Kamehameha support, is he Kamehameha support? It's just all super class allies. Yeah, my bad. He's just on the Kamehameha category. Yeah. So since he's this, like, this could have been a really interesting EZA as well. But it's like I would prefer Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and STR Bojack getting an EZA compared to these characters. So all in all, it's like, while this is another reason this is something that's completely for me. It's like if part 2 is Z Broly in any way, I just have to rainbow the character, right? So in terms of funds, it's not going to be a fun celebration for me. But if it's Z Broly, it's Z Broly, man. I'm eating regardless, right? So another thing I'll mention too, I just don't think people have watched all 3 films. And that's probably one of the reasons why they're not really excited. And to give you this example, I think a lot of people were really downplaying this Broly's art here. Now again, I am a Broly glazer, and I do believe, I'll tell you this right now, I definitely believe that this art is one of the best arts in the game. It's not one of the best arts in the game because of the pose and because of anything else, but Broly, when he was walking in this movie, when he was walking up to Goku, he was walking and transformed into this restricted Super Saiyan form. This card art, and again, that is a moment that I have ingrained in my head since I was a little kid on the streets, all right? On the Dokkan block, if you will. So, or I guess on the Dragon Ball, you get the point, right? So for this card art to capture him walking the way that he is, because again, he's walking in this photo. I guess I can't zoom in there, but he's walking. And for the art to go from base form, let me see if I can pull it up, right? I guess every screenshot I have is of Broly just, I guess, not walking up, but it's Broly in base form, and the card art is him walking and transforming. And oh my, it's just the way they paid respect to that scene specifically, and Broly was super cool to me. This is not just a regular pose. This is literally straight out of the movie. Like, it's not some random pose. It's not some random thing. It's capturing that specific moment that I love so much. So I think they did a great job with this. This art right here, and the base Broly art is my favorite LR art in the game. Again, I am biased. I get it. But it's not just me glazing, oh, you know, it's Broly. It's the fact that they captured that moment so well. And at the end of this art as well, I mean, they did a great job. Let me see. I kind of want to pull it up, but they did let me just pull it up real quick. I might as well just pull it up. Let me go to Bandai. Not band for band. Bandai Namco Entertainment. I want to pull this up for you because I think this is super important. Hold on. Just to give you kind of an understanding here. So for the art of they show Goku first. That's right. Yeah, let's go here. Okay, so watch this, right? So base Broly walking up, right, and then boom, transforms into Super Saiyan, or restricted Super Saiyan, and then towards the end of the art here, we get to see Broly kind of like how his body shatters before he turns into, and so they look at the aura, like that's just so fire, man. And this part right here, where his body is kind of breaking to transform into legendary super, like it's just, they did such a great job. So I feel like if you don't watch the movie, if you haven't actually taken the time to watch every film, it's hard to capture things like that and then appreciate the little things like that. Even then, though, or besides that, I do agree that Bio Broly just isn't hype, right? Maybe for me, but it's not hype generally. Second Coming is very, very hype personally to me, and that's why I don't know what they're going to do for part 2. Worldwide has always infamously been a Super Extreme Part 1 and a Super Extreme Part 2. I don't think, unless they just do a bunch of Extreme Class EZAs this year, I think we're going to get an Extreme Class unit in Part 2. And if we're getting, I'm telling you now, if we're getting an Extreme Class unit in Part 2, I don't know who else it could be besides Broly. In Part 2, it's going to, if it's Part 2 related, it's Broly. If it's Part 3, I guess it's possible that it's the guy that sequenced the DNA from the crater that Broly died in to make Bio Broly. Like, that's a possibility, but what are we talking about at that? Like, I don't really know, right? So if Part 2 has an Extreme Class character at all, it's gonna be Bio Broly. It's Broly or Broly, right? So it's gonna be very interesting to see how this works. Granted, again, I understand it's not as hype as something like, I think BoJack and Gohan Part 2 would have been hype, or any other Z movie, like let's say Janemba and Gogeta. Even though people don't want another Gogeta, let's be real, right? Janemba and Gogeta is infinitely more hype than a Bio Broly, or a second, or literally anything besides a repeat of Part 1. So I get that criticism, and for me, this is the best celebration in the. This is for me because I'm finally getting an LR Broly from movie 8. Okay, because this restricted Super Saiyan form and the legendary Super Saiyan form are just my favorite forms because I'm a Broly guy, right? So to have this finally represented in a card that isn't like some SSR or something is just beautiful to me, right? So for me, that's why it's already the best celebration. It's just from a personal bias standpoint, I'm just 100% biased. It's my favorite. But I can also acknowledge that Part 2, if it's Broly again and Goku again, it's just not going to be hype. For basically everyone, I guess, besides me and everyone else who just loves Broly. And then Part 3 is definitely not going to be hype. I think Part 3 being here doesn't mean that like we're getting a Second Coming banner and a Bio Broly banner. I just think that they're saying that all of these movies here are going to be represented. So for Bio Broly, we could be getting an EZA for Bio Broly, for Tech Bio Broly, and that's what they mean by showcasing that. Or an EZA for these guys, right? Or an EZA for the Tech Krillin. So that's what they could mean by, look, we're focusing on these 3 movies. It doesn't mean we're getting a Bio Broly, it just means that we're getting representation or some form of character progress update, something in the game that that is from either of these 3 movies. I could also imagine that in Part 2, if the Dokkan Fest is a Goten and Trunks, maybe a base Goten and Trunks that transform into Super Saiyan, the banner unit could then be Bio. That just makes sense to me. And then the other character could be Family Kamehameha, where the banner unit is another Broly. Then again, I don't know how it's going to work. Obviously, I don't got the insider knowledge like that, but I understand and acknowledge that even though this is the hypest I've ever been for a celebration in Dokkan, I understand the criticism. I understand the unhypeness. Right? When you have a repetition of Part 1 and Part 2, it's just not going to be, that hype. It's not the same as Cooler, because people were comparing it again to a STR Cooler in Part 1 and Middle Cooler in Part 2. Those are 2 completely different. It's Cooler for sure, yes, but it's 2 completely different characters, 2 different forms, 2 different it's different, right? But Z Broly in Part 1 is the same as Z Broly in Part 2. It's just Zenkai boost, right? And then, I mean, Part 3, that's Bio. It's not really, doesn't count too much, but you get the point. So, let me know what you think. Of course, I'm very excited, but I have a large bias because I am the glazer of everything Z Broly. But again, besides that, I do acknowledge this. Let me end the video before I continue glazing this guy. Let me know what you think. Hopefully, you enjoyed. More videos coming your way. A lot of news coming your way as well. and I will keep you up to date. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and good night.